Welcome back. You're watching Canadian Innovators. Joining me today is Peter Menzies, Senior Fellow at the MacDonald Laurier Institute. Peter, I'd like to, the first two pieces of legislation we mentioned, C11 and C18, are already passed. They're already law, although, like you say, we've yet to unfold all of the elements of them. But I'd like to talk in particular about C63, which is not yet passed into law and was just introduced relatively recently. Some people view this legislation as the most dangerous to freedom of speech and the free press. Why, in your view, is there so much concern about it?
Well, I think there's two things. One is the amendments to the criminal code regarding hate speech, and what that does allow for is for people to get a bond against somebody they have reasonable grounds to fear may say something hateful. That's extreme. I mean, there are cases where you need to get restrictions on people if you believe they are going to go and do something bad. I'm not opposed to that in general, but this involves people who are about to say something bad, not do something bad, but that saying something will be actually doing something bad. And that is really, really going too far. I mean, pretty much everybody who's critiqued that from the Globe and Mail right on down through has said that's going much too far. And I don't understand why the government would go that far unless they mean to actually use that, right? And then the other part is where they are bringing back essentially what's known as Section 13, which won't mean a lot to most people regarding the Human Rights Act. But that essentially what it does is it makes saying something racist or something offensive in some way that offends an act of discrimination. So as opposed to if you came to my hotel and I refused to give you a room for the night because of your race, that would be an act against that had been committed. But if I actually just say something that is racist or anti-Semitic or Islamophobic or something like that, then somebody could go to the Human Rights Commission to take it to the tribunal and have, if I was the offender, me fined about up to $20,000 and the platform ordered to take my post down. The former chair of the Human Rights Commission, Human Rights Tribunal himself, wrote a piece in the National Post last week saying what a terrible idea is that, because they just get flooded with complaints. Everybody just trying to shut each other down. It'd just be a bloody battlefield, and nothing good will come from that.
Indeed, yeah, the human rights is often, some of the human rights commissions have often been called kangaroo courts. So that
yes,
gives
that
you a little
phrase
bit
has
of
been used. Yes, that phrase has been used a lot, and this really isn't what human rights commissions were intended to make sure people didn't actively deny people services. That's what it was really all about, making sure you could get a room for the night, making sure you could get a job, making sure nobody said, I'm not hiring you because you're Black or because you're Jewish or anything like that. But right now, and this goes back into the criminal code area too, that you can get as much as you can be sentenced to life imprisonment for calling for genocide. And given that some people believe that going through the streets and chanting there is only one solution, intifada revolution, for instance, is a call for genocide, that opens a whole big can of worms that goes on there in terms of that. So, because what one person feels like they're saying, and this is where we get into speech, is what I say to you isn't necessarily what you hear. Because you're going to hear what I say through your own life experience, and I'm going to hear what I say through mine. And if we start getting into that, the government being involved in that, we have civil laws that can litigate these matters if people feel defamed and that sort of stuff. And we even have criminal code matters regarding hate speech that if somebody feels have been broken, they can call the police.
Indeed. And that gets down to exactly who defines what is hate speech. Because as you say, what is hate speech to one person certainly isn't to another. And this just gets into a whole disaster. And like you say, some of the fines are also immensely punitive. Well, we
Yeah,
have
and I
to
think
take
the
another.
bar for that needs to be high.
Yeah, is exactly. But there's too much subjectivity, basically, is what it comes down to. Well, we have to take another quick break. Please don't go away. You're watching Canadian Innovators.